Hi, I am Jair Fori, the host of 4D Sports. My guest for today is Coach Tim Ghormley. He's the head coach and program director of Stanford University Taekwondo team. We will be right back. Coach, welcome to 4D Sports.
Thanks, Jair. It's good to be here.
Oh my goodness, people have been telling me a lot of stories about you.
No, it's just a rumor, I'm sure.
It's not a rumor, that you're a great motivator, excellent coach, coach of the year several times. I mean, you have done so many great things throughout your life. You have been coach of the year. Your team has been one of the top five in the country. You also coached the U.S. national team, the university team, to the China University Games a year back. I mean, what can you tell us about those experiences?
Well, I can tell you I've been really lucky. I've had a real chance at some great opportunities to work with some great kids, some great athletes. I think one of the things, maybe if you stay around long enough, people decide that they're going to trust you to coach and to try and move a program ahead. And I think that I've had some luck in that regard. And you know, as a coach, you make your living with a whistle. You're telling kids to run and jump and kick and so forth. But beyond that, really, I've had a chance to work with some great athletes in a really great program, and very lucky.
Well, I mean, many people will ask themselves this question: what does it take to be a coach? Mm-hmm. Where do you start it? I know that you go all the way back to Fresno, California.
Yeah, well, I started, more than 30 years ago as a little kid in Fresno, and I had a best friend growing up, and whatever he wanted to do, I wanted to do. He was the toughest kid in the neighborhood, and we used to go and spend afternoons watching movies and sneaking into more movies. And one day he decided that he wanted to learn some martial arts, and we used to go get in the backyard and try and kick and punch each other. And we heard that there was a gym opening up, and so we both went down and signed up. And he stayed for about a month, and I stayed for about 35 years. But it worked out.
It seems like that has been an excellent foundation. But now that we're talking about just going to a gym, you bring in an excellent point. I mean, if I am a parent, mm-hmm. and I have my kids running around all over the place, I mean, what does it take? What is it that I need to do for me to get one of my kids into one of those programs?
Sure. Well, I mean, right now, when I was growing up, to get a chance to learn a sport like Taekwondo, there wasn't much opportunity. It was very rare. Not many people knew much about it. It's world renowned now, and the rest of the world knows about martial arts, and they know about the Olympic martial arts of Taekwondo and Judo. So there are opportunities around everything from community centers to commercial gyms. If a kid wants to learn, a parent wants to find a place to take them, there's lots of opportunities along those lines. The key thing is to go take a look at the practice. Look at the coach, look how the coach works with the kids. If it looks like fun, especially to the kid, if it looks like fun and looks like something they would see themselves doing, give it a try.
Oh, that's an excellent point that you're making over there. You get, as a parents, we need to go to the gyms, and we need to look at not just in Taekwondo, but in most of the sports. We need to go over there and watch the team, the coaches, because there's a lot of posers out there these days.
Well, just like with anything else, credentials are important, and it's just I see it the same way as you see with Little League or Little League baseball or junior basketball. You want a coach that's a good role model for your kids, one that takes the time to teach them the basics correctly. Anybody can put on a uniform and call themselves a coach, but you know, there's a lot that's shown in the practice and how they work with the kids. And if you're taking your children somewhere, you want to be able to trust that they're going to be in good hands.
Well, and in good hands, that's where the Stanford students are over there at your program. Tell us a little bit about your program.
Sure. I came to Stanford after coaching at another university, Cal State University East Bay, and I got a call one day that they were looking for another coach, and hadn't thought much about Stanford. Prior to that, I think I knew Stanford was the university that was the private one and down on the bay, and probably I wore more blue and gold prior to that. But I went down, interviewed for the job, got the job, started in 2000, and set out some goals for us. The idea was to build a successful competitive team, and that's like I said about opportunities. Stanford is a great place to coach a sport that not many people know about, and they provide resources and the environment of, well, I should say the expectation of excellence. And I work with a lot of great people.
Well, when you're talking about success at Stanford, I think that's an overwhelming factor about the students that are coming to the university. So, what do you think that has been the most difficult part about teaching the Stanford student?
I say it all the time. They'd be much better athletes if they had less of a life. They say, if they could only just do one or two things. But they're so talented. They didn't get to Stanford by being kind of one-dimensional. They're brilliant academic students and driven, and they're the same way when they're athletes. They get there by involving themselves in lots of activities, and that's the one thing. When they get there, they still want to experience what it's like to be a student, not just a student athlete, but a student. And unfortunately, sometimes with the demands that we place on our athletes, it narrows a little bit of their focus. You know, they get their academics and their athletics, and they're amazing in the way they can balance those things.
And how is the recruiting?
Well, recruiting has been not bad. I don't want to complain. We're on a streak of getting at least one junior national champion the last few years, and it's showed in the success of our program. We have a young lady coming in from Virginia this year. She just won the Outstanding Academic and Competitive Athlete Award from USA Taekwondo. And we're looking forward to another couple of years with trying to stay up and be competitive with the other teams.
And what is it that you look for in an athlete?
Wow.
That's a tough one.
I need him to show up to practice. We'll start with that. And then beyond that, you look at the physical attributes, you look at what type of character they bring, because even though Taekwondo is an individual combative sport, nobody gets good by themselves. You need to train with other people. You need to pull kind of a sense of camaraderie, a sense of teamwork for each other, because I need them to push each other. The competition out on the mat is tough, and if they're not pushing each other every day on the mat in practice, they're not going to be ready in competition. So we're looking for that kind of character as well, the one that's not just concerned with themselves, but also making the rest of the team better as well.
One of the assumptions I think that some of the athletes make is, for instance, somebody that's playing, is competing at the national level, that's trying to go to Stanford. They say, well, I'm on the national team, so it should be easier to get into Stanford. Can you share some light onto
that?
I
wish that was the case.
It is a myth. It is a myth.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish that was the case. Yeah. If we could take every gold medalist, from the national championship, we'd be in great shape. There's no formula. Everybody wants a formula for getting into Stanford, and the formula is basically everything. It's you need to be an outstanding student. You're looking for the great academic record, taking the most rigorous course load at your university or at your high school. We're also looking for great athletes, of course. But beyond that, they're looking for well-rounded individuals, and they're looking for people who involve themselves in their community, who maybe, instead of just volunteering hours, see a need and address it, create something. Again, there's not a formula. It's try to excel in every area of your life. apply. And there's a lot of kids every year who get in who think, I'm not sure I have a chance, I'm not sure I'm a good candidate, but they bring something unique to the table. And that's, again, what makes it a great place to work. And the kids that I work with come from all different backgrounds, and just a really rewarding experience coaching those kids.
No, and I have had the opportunity to be around Stanford University, and I see the talent. I mean, when you're talking in terms of now the Olympics are here. I mean, look at the number of athletes that Stanford is sending to the Olympics. There has been in previous Olympics where Stanford athletes have brought in from 4 to 8 gold medals, and that, I believe that's even more than some countries around the world.
Sure.
So I mean, why do you think that this happens specifically in this beautiful university?
Again, it goes back to a drive. It's an inner drive that these kids have. I think you can excel in anything in kind of two different ways. One is someone pushing you, and another way is that you feel driven inside, you're pushing yourself. And there just isn't a kid that I work with that isn't self-motivated, that isn't driven to succeed. And I think collegiately, competing at the collegiate level prepares them to try and move to that next level. And a lot of them, they want to see whatever opportunity is in front of them, they want to see it as a challenge for them to accomplish. And yeah, I think we have 38 athletes this year and in the Olympic Games. And already some of them have medaled. We're looking at some great performances right now. I don't want to jinx them, but women's water polo, men's water polo, swimming, diving. We've just across the board in sports all the way.
And also some international students.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, they're competing right now for other countries like New Zealand, Nigeria, and Canada.
Yeah. Watch Amici Morton in the 400-meter hurdles for Nigeria. Great kid, outstanding athlete, outstanding student, and I expect him to do really well.
Well, speaking of the Olympics now, the U.S. national team. The U.S. national team has been dominated by the Lopez family.
Oh, sure.
Over the past few years. I mean, I know that that's a wonderful thing to have such a family dominating the sport. But what do you think that said about a country that has so many people?
Well, we always talk about it. We say the rest of the world is excited about Taekwondo. I mean, if you look at the opening ceremonies at the Games, I think there were 12 countries that chose a Taekwondo athlete to carry their flag. And as close as Mexico. One of their female national team athletes, carried their flag. They're very excited about it. They put some resources towards it. And for some of the countries like Taiwan, their first ever Olympic medal was in Taekwondo. In the United States, we have lots of options, lots of sports. And I think that we have a big challenge, and that is to create some depth in our Taekwondo. Right now, we are lucky to have the Lopez family. In Beijing, they had 3 siblings competing, and the oldest sibling, the oldest brother, as their national team coach. It's great, and Stephen Lopez is one of the best Taekwondo athletes in the history of the sport. But at some point, we're going to have to start creating some more athletes at the grassroots level that will be challenging each other to create a higher level so that we can succeed at the international level.
Yeah, because I mean, the problem is going to be when the Lopez family will no longer be competing. So where is it going to be? What is the United States?
You know something I don't know?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
anytime soon?
No. But I'm saying is look at any sport. I mean, if look at basketball, for instance. Sure. Yeah, we had the dream team, and then it took a little bit longer to get the other talented program up. And this is a country that plays basketball.
Oh, there's no
so
question.
So now, in terms of Taekwondo, I don't know.
Right. No, it is, Jair, you're 100% correct. We've got to look at developing the grassroots level. I think it's a challenge for any of the smaller Olympic sports, the lesser known. There isn't a professional league for Taekwondo athletes. And we're competing against countries like Iran. Iran is a great example. The Korean national team in the history in 30 years have dominated international taekwondo. This past year, the men's team lost the championship at the World Championships for the first time ever to Iran. So how does something like that happen? It's government sponsored. They support their athletes. They put resources towards it, and there are rewards for succeeding. In the United States, we're behind in that regard. We've got to find ways to support our athletes in a way that helps them balance the rest of their life and their training.
Now, the other thing that's happening right now at the Olympics, or before the Olympics, is the major controversy between the British, two British athletes. I think the one was Aaron Cook, and the other one is Mr. Mohammed. So, I mean, what can you tell us about that? Where supposedly Mr. Cook is one of the best athletes in the world.
Well, not supposedly. Aaron Cook is the ranked #1 athlete in his weight category in the world, and for people who don't know, he was not chosen by the British Taekwondo Olympic Committee to represent his home country in the London Games. And there's a lot of speculation of what might have happened there, and I don't want to necessarily add to that speculation. He left the National Training Center and decided to work with an outside coach. So there's some feeling that it might have been retribution against him because he decided to do that. But what they did was they justified that decision by choosing an athlete in a higher weight category based on some of his technical and physical attributes, saying that he would have a better chance in the Olympic Games, based on some recent rule changes, and saying that looking at this other athlete, that he might have a better chance than Aaron Cook. The problem comes when you look at Aaron and you say, what more could he have done? He won the European Championships. He was one of the only athletes to beat Stephen Lopez. He was ranked #1 in the world, and yet his own country's Olympic Committee decided not to send him to the Games. So yes, there's some controversy and unfortunately a little bit of pressure on young Lutalo Muhammad to perform.
Yeah, I mean, it's very frustrating, I think, for an athlete to have gone through so many years of training to become an Olympian, and then just because of some politics, right, he's no longer a possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, I understand that you went to China last year. Tell us about that trip.
Well, I was coaching the U.S. National Collegiate Team at the World University Games in Shenzhen. It was probably one of the greatest coaching experiences of my life. It's probably third in the world of Taekwondo, behind the Olympics, the World Championships, and then you have the World University Games, the multi-sport games, including everything from gymnastics, basketball, Taekwondo, most of the Olympic sports. And being the year before the Olympics, I think the competition was particularly difficult, as a lot of teams were using it as a tune-up to get ready for these games.
Mm-hmm. So what does, and as a coach, I mean, you travel with the delegation to China, and you there and in front of all these many other countries. I mean, what does that feel like?
Well, it feels really great when you win. It feels not so great when you don't. And we had a tough challenge for the U.S. team. We walked away with only 1 bronze medal. Now, in a year where the U.S. teams at the World Championships and the World Cup took no medals, or I'm sorry, the World Championships and the World Qualification Tournament, where we came back without placing a single athlete, maybe 1 bronze medal looks like success, but the truth is no coach at that level is going to be excited by just barely getting a single medal. We had a lot of athletes that really fought well, tried their hardest, ran into some really top-level international competition, and just walked away without a medal. And That's not for lack of effort on their part. But again, it goes back to preparing our athletes correctly and giving them the best opportunity and exposure at the international level to succeed. Not just to coach them to get that level, but to coach them to win at that level.
To win at the level, and that's basically what most of the other countries are doing. I mean, with the programs, that they start with these kids when they are very young, and then they're training for many years, and then at the end you will see the end results. I mean, I don't know how that can be utilized over here in the United States, because like you said before, I mean, we have so many different athletes, so many different students of the sport that are also doing so many different things. In the United States, I mean, you can play basketball if you want to, you can play football, you can play baseball, you can play all of these things, plus the extracurricular activities, and you know all those extracurricular activities. And those are the ones that sometimes take the focus away from athletes that are trying to perform at the highest level.
Yeah, that is the issue. I'm sure the United States Olympic Committee is looking at that. Their goal at that level are medals. Our goal is to produce the athletes to get up to that level, so that they have athletes who potentially can compete for medals at that level. The Olympic Training Center, some regional training centers, all of those things can help to build the grassroots interest.
The other thing that I was noticing recently was that most of the countries, they only are able to compete with 4 athletes at the Olympics.
Right. The year
how is the process?
Sure.
Basically?
Well, the year that Taekwondo was voted into the games, they were in the process of trying to condense the number of athletes. So when they added new sports, they took a look at Taekwondo and said, well, there are 8 men's and 8 women's international weight categories. So what are we going to do so that all the countries in the world don't send 16 athletes and then, you know, make the games a little bit unmanageable? So they took the approach of consolidating the weight categories, and then the further approach to say that each country had to qualify their athletes in those certain weight categories at world qualification tournaments. So there's a world qualification tournament and then a regional qualification tournaments, but only 4 athletes can be qualified from any given country, 2 women and 2 men.
Yeah, as far as I can remember, I think you had the Stanford team had the opportunity to train in Mexico City a few years back, and also the U.S. national team that you coach. But my point is, one of the athletes that the Stanford team was competing in Mexico, from Mexico, he's already on the Olympics.
Yes, yeah, that's Eric Orsonio, who's from Mexico, great athlete, great young man. I'm really happy for him. And it was great for our team to be down there at the La Loma Training Center. It's a high-performance training center in Mexico that not only Taekwondo, but a lot of swim teams, tennis, professional soccer teams train there. It was a great opportunity for us to take the team down there and have them prepare themselves for the Shenzhen Games. Brazil was down there, and we had a good experience. I think that's the kind of thing we need to do for our teams. We need to expose them to the international level of competition that's out there. Of course, that takes money, and that's one of the things that's a challenge for us. We've got to find the resources to expose our athletes to that international level.
And that's basically what was interesting about you, because I mean, you saw the opportunity to go to Mexico City, to La Loma, and you knew of Professor Vargas, which is one of the well-renowned coaches in the world. And you were able to take the team over there, get some training, because I mean, I know that when you go to other countries, you're not going as the Stanford team or the U.S. national team. You're going as the team, and the people outside this country is ready for action. I mean, how tough was it for either the Stanford athletes or the U.S. national team that you took to La Loma?
Well, you know you're going to be tested. You know that if you have a U.S. flag on your uniform, you're going to get tested, and it's it's the way it should be. Those athletes from other countries, they want to see where they stand, just like our athletes want to see where they stand against athletes from other countries. So the important part is what happens after you're tested. How do you respond? And that process is how you make strong athletes, is that after exposure to someone who might be better than you, what do you take away with after that? Do you go back and train harder to reach that level? Or do you step up your game? And I was pleased with in both times when I took the Stanford team there and both with the U.S. team that they responded appropriately.
Well, they were competing against Olympic athletes and world champions and national team athletes. And I believe that the Stanford team, after that training session that you guys have there, you guys went all the way to the national championship and did very well.
Right, and that's why.
Yeah, well, Coach, this is all the time that we have for today. Thank you for watching D4D Sports. Thank you.